Coca-Cola.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, everybody. Ooh, all right. We're going live.
Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening.
Good evening.
I don't
Sir,
even
how
know
are
what
you?
freaking day it is.
Yeah. You just mentioned it to me. You messaged me. I've been preparing all day, but like in my head, it's Thursday already. And then you sent me a
Yeah.
message like, I can't believe it's Thursday. And I'm like, yeah.
I'm like, are we ready? Because we did this stuff last week, but
It is.
yeah, I added a few
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. It's a Groundhog Day, but like it's definitely a continuation of what we're seeing. And this week, man, how many, okay, with the Doge stuff, how much misinformation has been exposed through the media? How many of the lies, USAID, all the National Endowment for Democracy, the IRI, and you're watching all this stuff unfold. And I am on Facebook right now, and I've got a guy telling me that a Capitol police officer was killed on January 6th because he had a stroke after getting beaten. So then I have to send them an
Yeah.
I actually sent him an NBC News that states there was no physical injuries to the man who had the stroke. And then you look, and then you have to look. Within 36 hours, 5 people died on January 6th. One was shot. The only one shot and killed was Ashley Babbitt, an actual veteran who was a real American patriot expressing her opinion and fighting for her freedom for assembly. After that, not one of them was killed. One was a drug overdose. 3 were natural causes, and Ashley Babbitt. So here we are once again. Right now, it is February of 2025. 4 years after, 5 years after,
4
4 years,
years.
right?
4
2021, right?
years.
4
Yeah.
years after. And I have people telling me that I am crazy for thinking that the insurrection that happened didn't lead to this guy's death by having a stroke. Like,
Well, if it wasn't that, it was definitely the pipe bomb that they planted.
right. It must have been the stress that Kamala was standing next to a pipe bomb and didn't know it, right?
I like how Michael Malice frames this. He's always like, you guys, AOC had to talk to a police officer. That was the worst day of her life. Like the officer that came and told them, okay, you guys have to go to another building. Okay.
You have to admit, Malice has just the best takes. And
Yeah.
he's the one that said Kamala was R, man. He started it. I mean, we all said it, but no one ever like just in a
He said it
mainstream
on
setting
Joe
said it.
Rogan. And you know they had
Yeah.
to talk about it.
He said it. It just was like, oh yeah, and it was such a natural conversation. Like we've all been talking about it, you know. Anyway,
Yeah.
so what do we got, man?
January
Part
6th
two.
stuff, though. That's
What's
a
that?
great introduction. January 6th is a great introduction. Like you were saying, people have completely two different images of what happened on that day. And it really depends on who your tribe is and which media you consume. And we're talking about media again today because we did it last time, but there's so much more. There's always more. The media is responsible for this. And if they just told the truth, this wouldn't be a problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and it's transparency. It's like the lack of hypocrisy, right? Like, couldn't you say there was some really look at this side of the Capitol riots that got out of hand?
Mm-hmm.
Also, look at this side of people walking through peacefully. You couldn't show both. You couldn't show the duality of man. And
Yeah.
then you couldn't be honest and say, okay, let's go after the actual people who did property damage or broke or violated the like literally actually broke within the bill. Okay, cool. We can then go from there and see what they did there. After that, yeah, then we can be honest about it. But it's this witch hunt stuff, man. The media is so owned by the corporation. They were on the side of Biden. They took it all like they were so lockstep. The Democrats were so lockstep with all the Pfizer stuff, all the lockdowns. Yes, Trump did start it. Trump opened the door. Trump did start Operation Warp Speed. He will always be held accountable for that. His $6.6 trillion spending in that year of 2020 was absolutely ridiculous. These are all bad things. But the other side was absolutely happy to go along with this as we were getting every right of ours stripped away.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely people that got out of control on that day, but there's also like 99% certain, probably 100% sure that there were feds in there setting them up to do it, right?
Yep.
Who's Ray Epps? You can't even ask about that guy. Oh, he's innocent. He's the one that's on camera telling people to go into the Capitol, go inside, and he's just left alone. That's a huge indicator that they're lying.
Well, that's right. There were very fine people on both sides, Jason.
Very fine people.
Very fine. Do it. Come on, give it to me. Bring it.
They're fine people on both sides. They're both very
there
special.
it is. He said they're good people on both sides. We got to believe him. Trump said it. So,
yeah, man. But the media is always lying. It doesn't matter. People will be like, "Oh, I only watch Fox News. They tell the truth." It's like, no, that's just another version of the lies.
Yeah, and you brought it up with Mouse last time. It's like they tell you the truth, but not the facts, or the facts, but
They're
not
factual,
the truth.
but not truthful. So
Not
they
truthful.
kind of have some, some adherence to what is actually a fact. Like they will report a fact, but completely out of context, so that you believe something totally wrong. And actually, I have a good example if you want to pull up the first clip. And rest in peace to Joy Reid, her network news career anyway. She might still be alive, but she's irrelevant now. So
before we go to that, welcome, Zach.
Yeah.
We've got you're a Fed.
Zach.
I'm a Fed. We're all Feds.
We are all Feds.
That's how we'll keep it. We're all Feds. So
Zach
welcome.
is
We
Ray
got 10
Epps.
people. We already got 10 people on it. We're only a couple minutes in. So we're going to play the first clip by Joy Reid with Joy Reid. And let's go from there.
Yep. So they're talking about Doge. What's going on with Doge?
What's going on with Doge?
Merits. Well, I want to ask you, George, because the thing about it is, it's funny until he actually wiretaps a member of Congress. Right? I mean, you had the DC, the U.S. attorney from DC literally threaten Chuck Schumer over something he said a few years ago about how, you're going to feel the wrath of the American people. It's like, oh, that sounds like a threat. Anyone who says any criticism of the Doge kids, he could literally have your house raided. I mean, this is the threat that Republicans and Democrats are now living under.
And indeed, the United States attorney across, down the street is writing letters to people who criticized Elon Musk and saying, please explain yourself. So this is not a good development. These, we have prosecutors who are basically openly threatening people with investigations. And we have a guy who's basically said that's what he, if he doesn't shut down the Hoover building, which I guess he's not going to now that he gets to occupy it, he's going to use it to carry out the
the most absurd.
Yeah. So why I wanted to show this, it's this hyperbolic thing that we talked about, right? They're looking at a headline saying, oh yeah, Trump and Elon are sending threatening letters to people just for criticizing him. But no, if we actually go into that article that they showed on the screen, they're sending letters to politicians like Chuck Schumer, who is threatening people who are sending threats to this agency, to the people that are asking questions about what's going on in government. Why are you spending so much money here? What did you get done last week? Asking these questions is apparently a threat to their existence. And yeah, it is.
Yeah. Show your work.
Yeah.
Show your work. Okay.
Tell me 5 things you did this week. Can you do that? Well,
it's who's the one replacing Joy Reid now? They show that guy, and I just watched him, or no, not him. It was some other guy. And the guy replacing Joy Reid, or the other one of, I get woke mixed up. I'm not gonna lie, like even the right woke gets all mixed up with the left woke to me. But what it was is the guy's complaining about tearing apart the Constitution, and the guy goes, "Okay, this is a very interesting conversation. Where exactly is the Constitution being torn apart? Literally, the Constitution has nothing with any of the things that are actually being happening. These are all added things later in the fact that they're like they have no grounds to stand on. They just say." Fighting for democracy with a dictator in Zelensky right now, currently, right? We have a fight again. We have a Nazi in the presidency. We have a Putin, not someone who doesn't want to fight Putin anymore, but a Putin supporter, like a Putin supporter. These are the words that they use. It's like, do you support Putin? No, I support our sovereignty. Do I think we should maybe get along with Putin? That's probably better than fighting him. You know, it's crazy how they do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, Zach said, speaking of media and their bullshit, that Jeff Sachs EU address was real. Yeah, man, he went in there, just told the truth about what's going on with Ukraine.
You want to share a little bit about that?
I don't remember all the details, but I just remember he went in and be like, yeah, the U.S. did start this coup in 2014. Yeah, the reason that Russia is pissed about Ukraine is that the U.S. is setting up their military bases there, their bioengineering labs, all the things that we would rightly be pissed off about if some other country did that on our border. It's very good. He talks about Israel too. Do you remember that part?
Yeah, I remember. Is this the September 25th, 2015 speech? Because
I think that's the one you sent me.
The date is because it's the one I looked up.
I think that's the one you sent to me.
Okay. Yeah, because there were like two of them where he like the 51-minute one where he broke down literally Scott's book in 51 minutes.
Yeah.
Read the book. But he basically does that. But then there's the other one where he talks about in 2015 already. You're leading Ukraine down the primrose path to destruction. Literally to destruction. He labels it out. This is 7 years before Putin's boots even step on the soil. He's already telling you exactly the end of it, and it's exactly where it is. It's a beautiful country, a beautiful culture that has now been decimated and destroyed by war, and it just crumbles and dead people everywhere. It's sad.
Yeah, the one.
Okay, this is the recent one he was talking about, the 51-minute one, I think.
Yeah,
we can share
sure
that
that's
too.
The one we watched, but yeah,
it is. Yeah,
pretty much says Israel owns the United States. The U.S. doesn't have a foreign policy; it's Israel's foreign policy, and they're doing everything they can to start the war with Iran. That's their number one goal,
and that is a concern. And I'm not. I don't think I'm a prognosticator. I look at patterns and I look at people and I look at how they talk and what they do. Okay. But I saw this whole thing with Ukraine, but the second they shifted, the whimper of Iran, that Iran was behind the first assassination, when Matt Gaetz comes out and says, the CIA told me, or the FBI told me in the skiff that Iran had some ties with this guy. I knew immediately that all the Ukraine shell game money was going to shift right to Iran, because it went from Afghanistan to Ukraine a few months later. Like it's crazy. They just play a shell game. This is 1984. War is peace. Peace is war. All this crazy stuff. You know, your enemy is your friend. Help me understand.
Yeah. Speaking of Ukraine, can I share my screen here for a sec?
Yeah. Hold on one second. Go ahead. How do I do that?
Oh shit, I don't know which screen it is. Here.
We'll get it. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, so this came across my feed a couple days ago, but Zelensky could be ousted as Trump demands Ukraine election. And to be honest, this article is pretty neutrally written. But when you start to read into it, and if you see some of the commentary that the news sites were posting about it, they're very concerned that if Ukraine had elections again, that Zelensky would be ousted. So all this effort to defend democracy in Ukraine is all about actually protecting the person that the United States put in power.
Yep. It's crazy. And here's one, if I may. I'm going to share a quote from the Minister of Denmark. I'll keep your piece up. But basically a quote from Frederiksen, the Prime Minister of Denmark. I understand that many people think that a peaceful solution or a ceasefire sounds like a good idea, but we run the risk that peace in Ukraine could be more dangerous than the war that is going on now.
Yeah, please explain that to me. How does that work?
Laying down your arms could be so much more dangerous because how?
Because you're going to let Putin do whatever he wants.
No, he's going to come over to Europe. Oh, wait, he's so weak. He can't do anything. We're going to win in Ukraine. But if he does win, bro, he's taking over all of Europe, man. And that's totally going to happen. It's
Yeah.
like how does no sane human being like not separate these parts? Because they're fed in like little separate components. They're not told you this at once. They're told you this 100 times, and then they're told you that 100 times. They don't tell it to you next to each other, because if they did, your head would just not make sense. It would not be able to combine those two pieces. But all you hear is Putin's evil. He's going to take over the world. Putin's evil is going to take over the world. And Ukraine's going to win because Putin's weak. Ukraine's going to win. So they don't have to actually make the two pieces make sense. They just have to echo them. And who's pushing it? The people pushing the media.
Yep, that's exactly right. And we could blame the media all day, but really, people also have to do a better job reading. You got to freaking read the details. You can't just look at headlines, because that's how they work people up. I'm sure Joy Reid didn't know shit about Doge. She just saw some headlines saying, oh, they're sending threatening letters to people who are questioning them, even though that's completely backwards. People will run, you'll run with the headline, get worked up into a frenzy, get people all up in arms. That's why all the Trump hysteria got so crazy. That's why the COVID hysteria got so crazy. That's why we are where we are. That's why we have people seeing different realities on the same world, right?
Yeah, it's crazy because we are literally seeing different pieces of this. So the next piece that you want to share is really kind of how the psychology is impressive. Okay. So once again, Jason, maybe you and I should maybe revisit it, but it was a 4-hour documentary called The Century of the Self. And it spoke about a gentleman named Edward Bernays. And Edward Bernays is it Jung or Free? I think it's Freud's nephew or something. And he basically invented the term PR, public relations. The whole thing, freedom torches to get women to smoke in the 20s to basically double the smoking amount, right? By doubling the people that smoke. Just all this stuff and all the psychology, how it works. So do you want to share this next clip for us that you have?
5 monkeys, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Justin brought this to our attention last time. I had heard of it but couldn't remember. But since he brought it up, let's talk about it. It's definitely relevant to this.
Shout out to Justin for the 5 monkey problem. All right, we're going to play this guy for a second.
A group of scientists placed 5 monkeys in a cage and in the middle a ladder with bananas on top. Every time a monkey went up the ladder, the scientists soaked the rest of the monkeys with cold water. After a while, every time a monkey went up the ladder, the others beat up the one on the ladder. After some time, no monkey dared go up the ladder, regardless of the temptation. Scientists then decided to substitute one of the monkeys.
That was harsh.
The first thing this new monkey did was go up the ladder. Immediately, the other monkeys beat him up. After several beatings, the new member learned not to climb the ladder, even though he never knew why. A second monkey was substituted, and the same occurred. The first monkey participated on the beating for the second monkey. The replacements repeated until what was left was a group of 5 monkeys that, even though never received a cold shower, continued to beat up any monkey who attempted to climb the ladder. If you asked the new group of monkeys why the beatings took place, the answer would probably be,
well, I don't know. That's just how things are done around here.
I didn't pick up on that at the end. If you ask the monkeys, they're going to answer you.
I didn't see that either.
But yeah, man, do you recognize that? Does that ring a bell for anybody out there? Doesn't that seem a little bit familiar?
Yeah. So anybody go work and you do something at work and you're new. It's your first day, a couple days in, you open the fridge, you didn't label your food, or you didn't do something that like the culture of the office has been doing forever, right? You get you get 3 people jumping on you and you're like, whoa, what did I do? What? Next thing you know, you're echoing the same thing, but you have 0 reason why. And I remember, I remember like, it's one of these funny things because we talk about you and I being slightly wired, maybe slightly differently than the average bear. But
slightly.
When I was done work, like when I was a early teenager, I had to get like a work permit. My dad would pick me up, but I would sit in the back seat and put the seatbelt on, just sit in the back seat. One day I literally was looking and I go, why do I sit in the back seat? And he looked at me and he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, can I sit in the front seat? And he's like, I guess. And then it happened, right? Like, And it's like that kind of stuff. And when you're so conditioned, you don't even think about it. Like when someone else tries to get in the front seat, what do you do in the front seat? You get in the back seat. That's what you do. You don't get in the front seat. It's one like it's a real easy one that I recalled in my childhood.
Yeah, I have that problem when I go in an Uber or something. I'm like, do I get in the front or the back? I mean, I know you're driving me, but still, like, you're still a person. Like, should I sit next to you? The front seat's
you don't want to
probably
be
more
Daisy,
roomy.
right?
I'm a big guy. I can't even fit in most back seats.
That's true. Ladies and gentlemen, Jason is a tall drink of water. So, okay. So welcome everybody. We're talking about media, part 2 of the media and the corporate media machine. Look, before we continue, please, we ask, can you go to Drop the Mask on Rumble and give Jason a follow, please? Join his locals, join all his good stuff. That's the guy this way. He's over here. That's Jason. There. He's that way. That's Jason.
And whatever you do, do not follow the Knocked Conscious podcast.
Yeah,
it's horrible.
Absolutely do not. But Drop the Mask. Go on there. Go on Twitter, X, whatever it is. Follow him, and go from there. Very important. But we collaborate. Sometimes our powers combined. We become consciously unmasked, and this is one of those. We're doing part 2 of the corporate media. So thank you again for everyone who's joined us so far. We're in the 30s already, surprisingly. So Jason's taking the net.
The dirty 30s. No, please, yes, go follow at Mark Sean Pulse on X and follow the Knocked Conscious podcast. Give him a like, give him a rating. Go on Spotify, rate the show. Listen to a couple episodes first. I think you have to before you can rate it, but it's great stuff. You talk to all kinds of crazy people, man. I don't know how you can just like go talk to anybody. I don't feel like I can do that.
I really think you can, and I think what's been really interesting is I watch your stuff because you're not behind. You're just chronologically less stuff than I've done. Right?
It's not started.
Yeah, you're just getting started. I've been doing this, but I can tell when people put like focus and time into it and effort, and I can watch and I can see measurable improvement of you over the time. And it's really great. It's really refreshing to see it with people. And actually with Zach too. Zach, I've been watching Zach's show and he's been doing a bunch of spaces and he's been on all these other, like, I think he's doing one a day or something, like five a week or something. So it's pretty impressive. And when people put the time in, I'm happy to like to try to make something work. And it's really been a pleasure to kind of talk about unique stuff. But I think you sell yourself short, man. Like, think about the industry you're in. You have a wide breadth of, like, whatever your curiosity is, I'm sure it's deep. So, like, whatever it is, I just have a really wide, the thing is, I'm here to learn about people. I love getting to know people, regardless of what they are or who they are. There's some that I'm not interested in talking to. I'm like, yeah, I mean, people reach out all the time. I'm like, yeah, I'm not interested. And then there's somebody I chase. I'm like, I saw you say something and something just resonated, So sometimes I get lucky. I'm still waiting for Jordan Peterson to give me a call back. God doesn't want him to be up there in Scottsdale, but he's gonna come down here in the Phoenix area.
Is he really moving here?
Well, if you notice, I think all the stuff's recorded in Scottsdale. I think he's like down here now. And Malice was down here, and it's like Malice is gonna be a Freedom Fest. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
You're gonna bump into him one day and be like, oh, Jordan Peterson, and you're gonna do his voice at him and see how he reacts.
Oh God. Well, remember, look, it is a sincere form of flattery, man. I'm not making fun of the guy, and the guy's an intellect. Like, I want to pick his brain. He's changed his mind before. You don't think he's capable? Now, don't get me wrong, he's kind of on a track, but there's a range within the track. There's malleability. So,
well, geez, first you have to figure out what you mean by a track.
What do you mean by God? What do you mean by me?
Believe.
I know. Please, can we not do that? Can we just let's not get that philosophical?
Can we
We're like meta
that we know some basic words at least?
Yeah, come on, man.
Can we have a common definition of at least a few words? No, see, right, so you said you like people. My problem, I think, is I don't like people.
Yeah, and it's no. This is the thing. Okay, let me complete that. I've shared with you my vibe thing. Okay, I love getting to know people, and I hate knowing them. So, like,
Yes.
The joy is like figuring out how they became who they are. And then I'm like, cool, now I got it. We're good. Like, I'm good at letting that go. Now that
Now I
sounds
understand everything about you. That's all I need.
okay. Does that make kind of a little more sense of like how
Absolutely.
it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Like
I got you. I got you.
yeah, I love meeting and getting to know people, but I hate knowing them. I just there's a point where it just gets too far, and it happens very quickly with me because of my curiosity. Like, I will ask a very raw question that people will be completely thrown off by, and it's like, it's an honest question. There's not, you know what, there's no judge, because there's no judgment behind it. And I think people honestly do think we're sincere. I think you're a sincere person the way you present your material too. So, all right, enough rubbing each other and stroking each other. Let's get back to work.
Zach
Hey,
says that's
Justin, by the way,
autism
I don't know.
problem.
Justin got on the 5 monkey problem. Justin, we just played it, so if you missed it, you're gonna have to rewind back into the show, my friend.
Yeah, it's all about the chase.
Welcome.
He says. Zach says that's the autism talking. If you're saying you don't like people, yeah, I really do like people. I don't like being around people all the time. I definitely need I gotta be alone a majority of the time.
Yeah, well, let's be honest. You and I met. You could have easily. All I did was tell you that something was happening, but I'm sure you would be interested in meeting, just like I was interested in like just getting to see, like, put a face to the name and to the video and
Oh
all
yeah.
that. But like, you still made an effort to do that. So when we met, total genuine. But after that, look how quickly we're like, okay, bye. Like, both of us were like, we're both gone.
Well,
I'm like
I thought we
pushing
were
my
gonna
girl
talk
into the
more.
car, like
You're
shoving her,
just like,
kicking her, like not
I gotta
kicking
get
her.
the
Come on.
fuck out of here.
Right. I'm like, I'm pushing. I'm like, dude, good luck. The parking's gonna be shit. All right, see you. We got to go before it gets worse over here. So it wasn't like but we knew that to each other. So it's like, we don't take it personally.
Yeah. No, I definitely did want to meet you. I would love to hang out with a lot of the people that watch us and the audience here.
Yeah, we got Jesse
People on
around here
Twitter.
somewhere. Yeah, we got a
Yeah.
bunch. There's a bunch of people in Arizona like to even just get something together, and maybe somewhere there's a middle point we can figure something out. We can make a mobile podcast thing or something and do it that way. Because in person is so
Podcast
much
truck.
more. It really is a much more genuine way to like get the feel. Zach was talking about it because he mentioned podcasts that I had done with like live with my buddy back in the day, and they were all in person.
Yeah.
And it's such a different feel. I mean, this is still great. I mean, it's a great substitute, but technology is amazing, but there's nothing that beats that in-person, kind of exchange.
Absolutely. But yeah, it makes it a lot easier when you have that kind of baseline foundation in common of political stuff, podcasting, even. It could be anything, but yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, and I think you and I are curious about being curious too. Like, I think, some of the space stuff and some of the general just ideas, just open ideas that unexplored, So
you started to watch did you start to watch Dark Matter yet?
I did. All right, we can talk Dark Matter.
That's getting crazy.
I'm finding the guy. I'm on the fourth episode, and I'm finding the guy to be almost like a Bryan Cranston light character. Like, he kind of has a little likeness every once in a while. I'm kind of getting that vibe, like he was a cheap version of that. And I don't find the acting as solid as I want it to be, but the concept is so cool.
The concept is wild. Yeah.
Right. And one of the McPoyles is in it. So I love that one of the McPoyles is in it. From It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, if anyone knows.
Oh,
that.
yeah. That's a good one.
Really, for an ugly dude, that guy's like Buscemi'd his life. He's made so many he's had so many amazing roles. That guy who plays McPoyle.
Anyway, yeah. We don't have to talk about that. Let's get back to the media.
Tell me about your thoughts on it. Don't spoil it for me. Like I said, I got to the point where he is I don't know how far you are, so
I just got to the second to last episode, and it gets even crazier. It's like, I thought it was blowing my mind already. And you're just like, oh shit.
And to be clear, Dark Matter from 2024, not Dark Matter from like 2019 or something. It is a very different show.
Yeah, but the concept is like what we talked about a little bit with the free will stuff, putting things in a quantum
simulation
state.
Too. I mean, it really goes into play with all of it, and we need to revisit. We're going to revisit some of that. I know we are, because like that is definitely something that you and I have found like a lot of interest in. Is the consciousness, the will. These things are, we're trying to figure it out because we have questions. That's all.
Yes.
And maybe some point we may never get an answer. You know, the people who have the faith in the God that is like the earthly God that people have the faith in, they would say God's outside of this. And I have a hard time. I know that vacuum of space still has stuff in it because Lawrence Krauss has kind of shown that, you know, but it's hard for me to still buy that, you know, and I just have a hard time of an outside thing because you will always have the turtle problem. Who made the thing that made the thing that made the thing? And that's just it.
It's infinite, man.
I don't know. Yeah.
It's hard to
consciousness being
conceptualize
fundamental.
infinity.
What's going on now? I've been sending you videos about consciousness being fundamental. So anyway, all right, we're getting totally off track.
We're way off track here, but that's part of the fun. That's why people tune in.
It is part of the fun,
I assume.
Yeah. Oh no, I love talking about that stuff. But like we were like I said, I shared some videos with you about if consciousness is fundamental, or Matt, if that's the case, then math doesn't explain consciousness because consciousness creates math. You can't make the thing that creates the thing to explain itself. Like it's kind of like the Ouroboros.
Yeah, that's a mind blower. Yeah, mathematics is a creation of consciousness. It's really just a way to put a label on things that happen in reality, right? It's not. I don't know.
So how can mathematics explain consciousness if it's actually consciousness that gave rise to mathematics?
I don't think mathematics can explain consciousness. I don't think anyone can explain consciousness.
Right. And that's the thing is it just number of neurons? Is it just that it's a neuron? Is it whatever? And I think you and I, once again, we're going to revisit this again, but we've shared we think there's levels. Like a dog has consciousness. A dog is aware. Is it aware that it's aware? A little bit, but not to the level that we're aware that we're aware. You know, we plan so much for the future and whatnot. So anyway.
Right. Yeah, there's something about thinking about the future and being able to plan that kind of measures your amount of consciousness, I think.
Yeah. And weighing certain things in your head without actually acting them out to kind of strategize to see if they're viable solutions, right? Well, if we let this water go, this could flood. Well, that's not good. But how much water? Maybe we let half go. You know, like you can play all these different types of things out and do it outside of the actual act of it happening and dealing with the consequences. I love that Jordan Peterson thing is the ideas die in the head, not on in practicality. You know?
Yeah, right. How many ideas happen that never get fleshed out, that never get worked out in real life?
All right, we got Justin back in. Come on, we're on a tangent. Let's run with it. I'll let you go, Jason, because I've been babbling again, man.
Yeah, Justin says, not a problem of who made the thing. If God exists outside of time, space, and matter, that's a possibility. I believe that. He also said mathematical laws exist regardless of consciousness. Consciousness just allows us to recognize and label those laws. Yeah, that's a better way of saying what I was stumbling through. Thank you, Justin.
It is, but we're also assuming that our mathematics are correct.
Yeah, well,
just because they've been functional in this limited way that we've used them.
Yes, with what we're able to observe, they match it's like modeling reality, right?
Right. Well, like Newtonian physics does until we get to the quanta, right? So it's like the same in that weird way. It's like, yeah, it is. And it's all correct. But if the mathematics aren't correct,
we just don't have the right mathematical model to express.
Right. We don't have the language, right? Correct language, correct. Right. And look, these are beautiful philosophical questions that I love because they don't really have an answer, but they really do spark people's imagination. They just pull in different directions.
Anyway. And speaking of consciousness or a lack of consciousness, we can talk about people that watch the mainstream media.
Yes, let's do it.
And
let's go back
to the 5 monkey problem. Really, the 5 monkeys. So 5 monkeys are in there. They get sprayed with the hose or whatever every time they try to go up the ladder and get the bananas. They take one of the monkeys out, replace it with a new monkey, and that monkey tries to go climb and get the bananas. All the other monkeys berate him, they beat him until he just stops. And then he's like, oh, okay, I get it. This is the social norm here. This is what we do. Just like that, the news is able to be that hose, be the punishment for climbing the ladder, trying to get too high, trying to escape whatever this cage is that we've been put in. it really just shows how we're conditioned. And I don't know if this experiment is real, actually. I was looking through, I asked Grok about it. Tell me about this experiment. He said, it said, there's no real documentation of this experiment. But I think it's true enough. It's at least on the path of getting to what is actually true, how we function as humans, as primates.
We
Right?
just did the 5 monkey problem. It was called the 7 billion monkey problem, and it was called COVID. Are you kidding
Yes.
me?
That's the first thing I thought
Dude,
of.
we
Yeah.
literally just had the 5 monkey people are walking into stores masking up, not knowing why the fuck they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Get
And
out.
if you take your mask
you're
off,
absolutely right.
they're coming over to yell at you. They're coming over to beat the shit out of you. They're
Yeah,
coming. They're going to report you to the
how
police.
many eyes did you get, or people running to you? Mask up! You mask up, you son of a bitch! I mean,
Evil. You're trying to kill grandma.
Trying to kill grandma. Get it? Rachel Maddow, get the shot. You won't get it. You won't transmit it. Oh, really? Is that real? There's media right there. The number one. Now, let's say number one on her channel. It doesn't mean she's anything of any value or merit. She's the biggest watch of on her channel. Rachel Maddow says, get the vaccine. You won't get it. You won't transmit it. She said that. We have video of it over and over again. We have Chris freaking what's his face, Cuomo face, talking about the ivermectin and the horse paste. And we have all this stuff, masking up. Masks don't work. Masks work. And the whole thing. Miss Susie Wynn talking about her masks, the way she talks about the things, the way COVID affected her people with her children and her masks. Like, it is disgusting to me the way we and these people just, they echo it. Like, once again, I sit there, taxation is theft. The first response, the rich should pay their share.
Yeah.
Where did that, where is that even part of the conversation? The correct answer to that, America, is yes, taxation is theft. We should all hope that we get less theft taken from us.
But are you just conditioned to say taxation is theft? Have you been influenced? Have you
By
really
Ron Paul,
thought
yes. Ron Paul's right, man. I'm sorry. If there should be a Ron Paul, there's got to be an RPN, right? Ron Paul network somewhere. It's like Tucker's.
That's a good idea. We should take that to him. Maybe he'll let us be on it.
Oh my gosh! Did you see Liam McCollum have Ron Paul on? He was gushing, and I'm saying this because the Human Reaction guys. I met those guys at Freedom Fest. They're awesome dudes. We got to talk a little bit. Hopefully we can collaborate in the future, but they're really good guys. Human Reaction, at Human Reaction, I think, and Liam McCollum. They just got to talk to Ron Paul, which that's the bucket, right? Let's be honest. Ron Paul's a bucket. Just to have a 5-minute conversation with the man would be amazing. And I didn't get to see him at Freedom Fest this year. I got to meet Thomas Massey. Holy mackerel. I was gushing too. So, of the people, Massey and Paul, those are the two we want to. I definitely.
Yeah, I saw Ron Paul at the Libertarian Convention. He was there, gave a speech, and I kind of saw him walk by, but his little security team was all around him. Didn't let anybody take a picture or anything. It was cool though. Gave a good speech.
They give out, like, you sense it. Do you sense just as like you
There's
sense
an
like
aura.
the wise, calm guy? Like,
yeah, oh yeah.
He just seems to have wisdom.
He's little
like,
too, man. He's like,
yeah, he's tiny. And that's the thing. He's almost like this little like Jedi guy because he's like he's not an imposing right. He's like a big his mind is so big and his body isn't,
Theft taxation is. He's freaking Yoda.
Taxation is no.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, on the COVID stuff, man, this is what they were pushing. People repeated it. And then if you went against it, and they were telling you all, oh, this is misinformation. It's all misinformation.
Oh, no. Thank you, Dead Can't Dance. I'm so sorry. By the way, Dead Can't Dance, welcome. Dead Can't Dance was on a Spaces with Zach and myself and with Retard News Network, I think, was it? Or Retard News yesterday or 2 days ago. I don't remember. My head spins, but basically we had like a 3-hour conversation on a Spaces. So thank you for sharing that. I don't know how to fix it because I am it says I'm live. That's
He's
so weird.
a little old.
I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. But thank
What
you
is
so
this
much, Dead Can't
technology?
Dance. I mean, are you looking on Knocked Conscious though? Because if you're looking on what is it? Drop the Mask, it won't be on Drop the Mask. It will be on Knocked Conscious. So that might be the challenge.
Don't go to Drop the Mask. It's horrible.
Let me see. I'm playing it right now. No, we're live. We're live. It's working.
Okay.
Oh, Drop the Mask. It's horrible. Oh, don't stop talking like that about yourself, sir.
I'm trying to get people to stop watching me so I can quit.
Oh, is that what you're trying to do? You're trying to... Well, you could just blow it up like Sean did. Sean just went complete IDS and just like, it's over. I'm gonna burn every bridge.
He'll be back.
He will. We love Sean. We want Sean back, man. The thing is, once again, we're just spreading the message, right? We're just spreading the message. So the 5 monkey problem, we talked about it. They have 5 monkeys. The one goes up to get food. The other 4 get sprayed. They grab the other monkey, pull him down. Like I said, we went through this in COVID, guys. We all went through it, whether it was to coerce you to get the shot, to wear a mask, to distance, to wash your food. Remember when you had to do that in the beginning, wipe everything down, all that stuff, all of it, all the lockdowns, everything. And remember, there's 2 white people in this podcast, but 41% of Black-owned businesses shuttered during COVID. 41%. Yeah. And it was the largest upward transfer of wealth. And that was
$4 trillion in 2 years, 2-3 years.
Yeah.
$4 trillion
by the media. Right. And this is, remember, let's do numbers, guys. Allegedly, Doge found 50 billion, right? $50 billion. Okay. Our interest is 1 trillion. That's 1,000 billion. 1,000 billion. So we're 950 billion short, first of all, right there.
You're telling me that my $5,000 check is not coming in?
You're not getting that. You better not get that, you son of a bitch. You better not get that.
I'm doing it.
So now the entire country, 36,000 billion in debt, right? That's 36 trillion, 36,000 billion. And here we are quibbling over a billion, 2 billion, 10 billion. It's like, we got to cut it. But $1 trillion, $1,000 billion were transferred, 1,000 billion from the bottom, I think 82% or something, some crazy number to very
top, like 1%, basically.
Top 5%, maybe 1%. Yeah, whatever. Right.
You're not paying the fair share.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And yes, Amazon's really cool, right? It's real cool, but why do they shut down your local business and keep Amazon open? Who's more essential for your life? For your life, it definitely is the local shop. And I know a lot of stuff's gotten nationalized, but there's still a lot of local stores that exist. And those are the ones that closed. So once again, there's your 5 monkey problem. We made it an 8 billion monkey problem, and we failed miserably, or we succeeded. I don't know. Which one was it?
So the one monkey that's in there thinking critically, he's going to go up and they're going to be like, no, you can't do it. He's going to be like, no, guys, listen, there's a person out there keeping us down. It's not real. And they'll be like, no, that's misinformation. That's misinformation. People are so conditioned to follow this stuff, they can't even see it. It's just like you're stuck. It's Stockholm syndrome, really.
100%. Yeah.
But let's get into misinformation. This is back. Chuck Schumer, before Tucker Carlson got fired. Now Tucker Carlson is wrong about a lot of things. We got to do the caveats, right? Like, I don't agree with him on everything. He's not the best person to follow, but he was starting to tell the truth and realize that he had been wrong about a lot of things. And right before he got canned from Fox News, he was talking some truth, right? He was telling the truth about January 6th. That's what we're going to see here.
All right. And to piggyback on the Tucker thing, guys, agree with people whose ideas you agree with. Like, I agree with Jimmy Dore in his anti-war stance, but I vehemently disagree with his desire to have some kind of national health care or whatever. I just don't. I just do not agree with that stance. Now, when I see Jimmy Dore I'm going to champion all the anti-war and all the peace stuff with him because that's where we align. And when you meet someone like a Tucker, you can align on the things that you totally agree with. Because I watched him and I watched Russell Brand do this thing in Phoenix, and it was weird. His speech was amazing, and then it became like a Christian Sunday school. It became the weirdest thing to me. And it was like odd to watch this weird shift about demons and stuff. It's like, okay, that's fine. But yeah, don't have these heroes. Like you can go, yes, I align a lot more with core values with Tucker. Absolutely, right? Absolutely. So once again, don't have too many heroes. Don't get glummed on too bad because they're going to disappoint you over time. They're going to break your heart. So be careful.
I'm sure the people watching are smart enough to know that we don't have to do that thing where, you know, it's like, okay, I don't agree with him on everything, but blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we know. You guys get it. But
yeah, you guys get it.
Still feels like I have to.
I sometimes I do because like I just listened to an Epstein episode I did like 4 years ago, and I said some really, really poopy things. And it's pretty messed up. So anyway. All right. Here's is this the one we're talking about, sir?
Yeah.
Chuck Schumer is not asking why. Instead, Chuck Schumer went on the Senate floor today to explode and to say that showing that video, evidence of wrongdoing by the federal government, including the security forces, the police department that Nancy Pelosi personally controlled, letting the public see any of that is a threat to democracy. Watch.
Last night, millions of Americans tuned in to one of the most shameful hours we have ever seen on cable television. Fox News host Tucker Carlson ran a lengthy statement last night arguing the January 6th Capitol attack was not a violent insurrection. I don't think I've ever seen a primetime cable news anchor manipulate his viewers the way Mr. Carlson did last night.
I love this for many reasons. One, it's like media within media, addressing a politician, addressing the media. It's on InfoWars, covering a Fox News segment, talking about Chuck Schumer, talking about a previous Fox News segment. I love it. I love it.
It says this, talking about that, coming back full circle, talking about that, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
oh,
crazy.
But God, what a fucking asshole Schumer is. Like, oh, he said something that might not be true. This is the most shameful thing we've ever seen.
Fight.
Get a grip, dude.
Fight.
Get a grip.
Fight. Fight. Words. Rah. 6 ways to Sunday. Any which way to get you.
Yeah.
All of them, man.
Of course, it's fucking fake, right? It's bullshit. He knows it is. He knows it. They, like you said, they did not. They fought not to release that footage because it gives another view of what actually happened on January 6th.
Well, and that's the thing. It gives a full picture. And the more data we have, the better we are. I mean, I feel like Americans were a little more savvy. Might not be as technologically smart as they are now, but they were a little more savvy about how this stuff worked. A little bit, I think. You know? Yeah. But, you know, that's what happens, I guess.
Yeah, so he goes on, Schumer goes on. He's not just complaining about this because, okay, he can complain and say, oh, this is shameful. Sure, that's your opinion. Fine, but he goes on here to actually urge Fox to take action about this.
All right, here we go.
I don't think I've ever seen an anchor treat the American people and American democracy with such.
Oh my God, can you pause this already?
Nothing.
All right, hold on.
That's shameful that has ever appeared on American television in the history of things.
Yes, sir.
Tucker's expressing my I don't know what to call it. It's not outrage. It's just like, this is so absurd. It's so absurd for Schumer to go in front of the Senate and say these things, right? To say that.
I'm going to play one more time. More time. You ready?
Ahead.
Here we
go.
Ahead. Let's. I want you fuming, my friend. I want you just reaching through the screen.
I don't think I've ever seen an anchor treat the American people and American democracy with such disdain.
I've never.
And we'll leave it there. We're going to leave it right on that grin as you talk.
Great. Never seen an anchor treat the American people with such disdain. No, bro, that's what they do. That's what every news anchor does. They fucking hate people. They don't treat you with respect. They don't think you're smart. They think you're a dumb piece of shit, and you're going to believe everything that they say.
Does anyone remember KJP before she became press secretary? Fox was racist. Fox is racist. Fox will always be racist. Yeah, that doesn't sound like disdain at all. Like, no.
Based on, she's right. Based on their definition, everything's racist.
Right. Well, of course, yeah, because everything is based on that.
If you don't agree with the Democratic Party, with their government, really the Republican Party too, minus a couple of people, then you're a racist. It doesn't matter if race has anything to do
who
with it.
voted nay. Who voted nay? Congratulations, sir. Thank you.
Racist.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah.
Like, speaking of which, did you happen to watch that? He comes out of the meeting and they're like, "How are you voting?" He goes, "They convinced me. I'm a no."
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, he's the kindest, meanest dude I've ever seen in my entire life.
He's got some edge lately, man. Since his wife passed, he's let the 5 o'clock shadow come out, and he's
getting dark Thomas.
Dark Thomas. Yes.
Dark Massey.
I love it.
Anyway,
love it.
And
anyway,
it is crazy because he's like, I was a lean no, and they convinced me. And he's like, basically over the next 3 years, we're gonna add $1 trillion. That's if the world's perfect, which government is far from. That's $1 trillion over 3 years. Why would we vote for any of that? Like, he's so right. You know why? But he's the only one who voted no.
Yep. But yeah, the reason Schumer's mad here is because they're after his power. That's a threat. Speaking the truth is a threat to the government's power. So we can go ahead. Continue.
All right. Here you go, sir.
There's nothing that shameful that has ever appeared on American television in the history of the medium. And so, on the basis of that, the self-evident outrage of showing the public video that it paid for and has a right to see, Chuck Schumer called for the censorship of that video.
He's going to come back tonight with another segment. Fox News should tell him not to. Fox News, Rupert Murdoch, tell Carlson not to run a second segment of lies. I urge Fox News to order Carlson to cease propagating the big lie on his network and to level with their viewers about the truth behind the efforts to mislead the public.
So he's urging.
Wait, is this the same guy who said immigration was bad and then said immigration's good and then said immigration's bad and then said immigration's good and then said defund the police and then said don't refund the police?
Yeah. If you expect people to be consistent about policy, they're playing the wrong game here. They don't care. It's whatever's convenient for them at the time.
You know, it just clicked in my head. There's a show called The United States of Tara.
I've heard of it.
Have you ever heard of it?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically it's a woman with DID, which is dissociative identity disorder. So she has like 50 personalities inside her head. So like it's the thing where you actually see them physically change, and one smokes and the other one does, you know what I mean? One doesn't, one drink, whatever. And it's pretty interesting. But like I just realized that's every politician is the United States of Terror. They will do whatever, be whatever it is. Look at Marco Rubio right now. You have me nodding with a statement that Marco Rubio said. Like, that's unheard of that I can remember.
Yeah.
Anyway, just the way that.
Yeah, man. So Schumer is urging Fox News, and that's not a direct threat. That's not directly telling the press what to do, but in light of like what came out with the Twitter files, how the FBI was embedded within the social media companies, you think they don't have the same thing going on inside these mainstream media? No, they're probably worse.
Yeah, absolutely. And we want to take that comment from Dead Can't Dance. Once again, Dead Can't Dance, do me a favor, please. You follow Zach and myself from yesterday, I think, on X. Jump on our thing, go to Drop the Mask, give him a follow, please. We'd be so grateful for that. And thank you so much for joining us on that Spaces. You had a lot of good points.
Yeah, thanks. I'd have to get on some of those spaces. I'm just working all the freaking time. But he says, what about the What about the Murdoch trust dispute that was played out in the show Succession before it even happened? It's about gaining control of the news to maintain democracy, in quotes, aka Fox. Yeah. I have not seen the show. I don't know exactly what this is referencing, but I believe it. People say that like COVID was planned out beforehand. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it could be a coincidence. A lot of things happen coincidentally. Look at The Simpsons predicting everything that's happened, all the major things that happened over the last like 30 years that the show's been on.
Absolutely. And
But
once
they do
again,
a lot of things that don't play out. So,
right.
I mean,
like let's use Alex Jones as a great example. Alex Jones gets some really interesting things correct. Like 9/11 in August. Right? Like he's gotten some of that stuff. Bohemian Grove, he's broken some really he sees patterns. Now I think he jumps on anything first and then tries to reverse engineer it, I think. So it's a little different. But when you can see patterns, you start seeing, like, once again, we talked about Provoked on Scott Horton's amazing book, and it's Groundhog Day. It's guy fighting another guy. We say we back guy number two. Guy number two takes our help. We help by destroying everything, and guy number two doesn't gain anything except for many years and lives and destruction and just property being destroyed. Like that's what happens every time, over and over and over again. So when you start seeing the beginning of it, Mearsheimer, 7 years before Putin even sets a boot in Ukraine, tells us exactly how the end of it's going to be before it even starts. Kind of interesting, right? What is he, psychic? I don't think he's grabbing cards and like holding them up to his turban and going like, the old Johnny Carson bit, Oh, here's a good one. Ready? Here we go.
Oh yeah.
Irish Spring, John Paul II, Dan Quayle. Name a soap, a pope, and a dope.
That's my old Johnny Carson.
That's a good one, man. You go with that.
I try with voices, but the thing is, it's attempt, and you get better. Like your Trump, man, spot on. I heard Andrew's Alex Jones today. It's better. It is better than mine. It is better than mine. So I yield to the master.
Yes. So what we just showed was on InfoWars. That was what Alex Jones thought Tucker Carlson got fired for, is talking about the January 6th stuff. And it's interesting because everyone, like Tucker came out and said, I can't tell you why. I don't even know why I got fired from Fox. They didn't tell him. So everyone has their own opinion. What actually got him can't. Alex
What's
Jones
your
says
opinion?
It was the January 6th stuff. We're going to look at this one next. He went on a tirade talking about vaccines. That could be it. I don't know. But maybe let's go through this one.
Do you have a guess? Because I have a guess. Do you have an actual guess?
Yes, but I can't say it live.
Okay. I'm going to say it was a week after Kennedy was put on. So.
Okay. Well, that's what we're going to see here.
Let's take a look. Is that what this one is? Oh, gosh. I hope I didn't spoil my own thing.
Sometimes you wonder just how filthy and dishonest our news media are. You'll be in the shower and you'll think they're bad, but how bad are they? Well, here's one measure of their badness. You can try this at home. Ask yourself, is any news organization you know of so corrupt that it's willing to hurt you on behalf of its biggest advertisers? The other channels took hundreds of millions of dollars from big pharma companies, and then they shilled for their sketchy products on the air. And as they did that, they maligned anyone who was skeptical of those products. Robert Kennedy knew early that the COVID vaccines were both ineffective and potentially dangerous, and he said so in public to the extent he was allowed. Science has since proven Robert F. Kennedy Jr. right, unequivocally right. But Kennedy was not rewarded for this. He was vilified. He was censored because he dared to criticize their advertisers. The news media called Bobby Kennedy a Nazi, and then they attacked his family. It was a year ago that every media outlet in the United States, from USA Today to the New York Times, told you it was a dangerous conspiracy theory to believe the U.S. government had ever funded secret biolabs in Ukraine. The idea was ridiculous. In fact, it was Russian disinformation. And then one day, in sworn testimony, Toria Nuland of the State Department accidentally admitted that it was true. Now we have learned that actually it is far worse than just biolabs. Not only has the Biden administration been maintaining these labs in Ukraine in the middle of a war, it also has, quote, sensitive nuclear technology in Ukraine as well. And no, we're not making that up. They admitted it today.
So he went on a bit of a tirade here. He didn't quite get to Kennedy, at least completely yet, but he did mention him. The vaccines, Kennedy talking about vaccines, that makes the most sense to me. That's the most straightforward answer. Is he was talking shit about pharmaceutical products. Pharmaceuticals basically fund the media with their advertising. So if you want the most simple explanation, that's the one, I think.
And to piggyback on that, I don't know if everyone's aware, but only 2 countries in the entire world allow pharmaceuticals to advertise on television. One is New Zealand and the United States. New Zealand is much stricter than we are about it. But if you ever notice, you got a nice little picnic with this happy family, and you're like, haha, we're holding hands, skipping, and they're like, side effects may include anal leakage. And you're like, ha ha ha, this is so cute. And death, stroke, heart attack. And you're like, you're just going through this thing, like all these things are happening, right? And we watch this, and then you look at CNN, 75% of advertising. So the funding is 75% from CNN. So what do you think they're advertising for? You think they're getting their money's worth selling the shitty pill on an advertisement, on a commercial? No, they are not making money on that. Where they're making money is on everything else that they get to steer the media and tell you what to think, because they bought the time. They bought the time by buying the advertising time.
They sure did. Then he gets into talking about Ukraine as well. I'm sure that didn't make people happy. The people that have the influence, right? People that can actually come in and say, Fox, you got to knock this off or we're going to come fuck up your network, right? So talking about the biolabs, talking about the war, we're funding. Why are we funding this? What's the goal here? There's no real reason that they give us.
Yeah,
I'm sure they didn't.
And I don't know if you saw that, the one with the congressional hearing with Newland and the biolabs, where they're like, you're saying they're biolabs. I was like, well, there are biological institutions that we're afraid Russia may weaponize.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. Right. I got it. Yeah.
That was part of that clip, but I cut it out because it was just too rambly and long. But yeah, exactly. She did admit it. It's there. It's all there for you to see.
Yeah. And Jimmy Dore's anti-war, and he brought Jimmy Dore on too. I do think the nail in the coffin was RFK the week before. It literally was like Tucker's like, you know what, guys? I'm going to do my show because I did this other thing before. I'm not going to do this anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I think he had his Iraq moment. He broke from that, from that shackles of that. Thank goodness that he did. Now, don't get me wrong. He's going down some weird paths, but that's okay. That's okay. Mm-hmm. At least he's very open to talking to anyone about anything. I mean, look at the thing with Crenshaw. Did you see this thing that happened with Crenshaw this week?
Yeah.
I'll fucking kill him. Like, I'll effing kill him, right?
Yeah.
I'll effing kill him if I ever see him, blah, blah, blah. And then
I'm Tucker, not kidding.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. Tucker retweets, goes, how about you come on the show and see how you do?
Yeah.
Like, dude, that is what's called open. That is what's called open. I've been on Facebook. I've invited people onto debates to debate on show, thinking I'm going to be in trouble. No joke. Like, going in thinking I'm over my head. And once again, to your point, like, what we're doing here is challenging ourselves, right? We're doing something different. Mm-hmm. So in that spirit, I'm like, let me get schooled. Let me get humbled. Like, I need to learn how to state my case better, right? So I can only do that against people who speak better on the other side, right? So I invite people, at person after person I invite, they're like, you won't believe what I say anyway. And I'm like, that's the side you're on? You won't believe what I say anyway, so we shouldn't talk? Does that sound like you're going to resolve anything? When let's not talk to Putin because he wouldn't believe what we have to say about it. Like, are you kidding me? It's silly, right?
Yeah, anyone with
we also want the same thing, by the way. It's all them minerals, $2 to $7 trillion worth per Lindsey Graham. That sweet, sweet mineral cash. Sorry. Every Ukrainian's gonna die for us, and Russians too.
The Russians are dying. It's the best money we've ever spent.
All right.
I
got
hate
another
that.
Tucker, I
I
think.
don't hate a
Or
lot of
what do we
people.
got?
I know I said I hate people. I don't actually hate people, but I hate Lindsey Graham, like legitimately. He's evil.
Legitimately. I find Lindsey Graham despicable. And I'm on the fence with McCain only because he kind of I mean, I'm sorry. I don't think you can have your whole life and then reflect and be like, oh, I'm cool now. Like, I don't think you get to be like Dick Cheney. That's another motherfucker I fucking hate. Like that whole administration pulled my heart and America into a possible oblivion with the beginning of the Middle East. The beginning of the conquest of the Middle East per some country which will remain nameless. I'll draw an upside down triangle to give you half of the answer, but you know, they're pushing for us to do this for them. And we are spending and killing ourselves over this. And we are shifting to Iran. Don't kid yourself. There's going to be a false flag event that something's going to happen. And they're going to use, guess what, guys? The media. And this is why it's great that we're talking about this, because I think we're letting everybody know about it.
Yeah, man. Well, I got one more Tucker clip if you want to go into that.
I got it, my friend. Go ahead and set her up.
Last one. It's continuing on what he was talking about last time, more on the vaccine side. So you're about to get booted from YouTube. Sorry about that.
No, you know what? It's funny. I had remember that one that I got the little dinger on? They just removed the entire video. It's like it was like 2 hours you and I talk, and I make one opinion that there's I think there's a correlation between the whatever and the things with the other things. Anyway, I'll let it go.
It's dangerous.
Conversations. He's not running to get rich. He's running to make things better, but he's not allowed to have those conversations. He's been censored. Other media won't even talk to him. He criticized their advertisers. Here was the reaction on television today.
The anti-vaccine activist, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., has filed paperwork to run for president as a Democrat in 2024.
You see it on Fox News. You see it from Joe Rogan. You hear it from Robert F. Kennedy Jr. There are a lot of dangerous people out there who are not accepting the fact that these vaccines protect people from dying from COVID.
I've written for years about Robert Kennedy and other liberals who are absurd in their anti-vaccine, anti-science activities.
People like the Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s, the people with big platforms that are using them to be anti-mask and anti-vax.
He's extreme. He's dangerous, said one. Notice not there, not anywhere is a point-by-point rebuttal of his actual points. They never engage him on the facts. They can't. They would lose. Instead, they impugn his character. Now, that man they call dangerous is Joe Biden's leading primary opponent, and their view remains the same. Shut up. You're not allowed to talk.
Yeah, key point right there is when somebody just tries to shut you up instead of actually refuting your arguments, that's when you know you're not dealing with an honest person. And that's what they do.
And when did we see that again? Once again, when did we see that? We saw very recently, didn't we?
I can't possibly think of any situation where the media has lied and tried to silence people.
I can't. I'm coming down with something, but and it's so interesting. And this is another, I don't know if people know this. Once again, Jason, you and I, we're starting this thing out. We're just getting some people. I think we're talking to people that other people might not talk to, they might not come across. So maybe we get lucky and get to spread these messages. That this is really the point. We are messengers. That's it. Nothing more. We get to spread the message because we are lucky enough to be able to research this and have the time. So we can condense it into something palpable. But basically, the United States, the CIA, used social media in other countries to create revolutions, to overthrow governments. That's what our government did. That's what the NED is, USAID, Victoria Nuland, the IRI, all these things. When it came home to roost, they saw the danger that it had on their own power in their own country, and look at what they did locally. And the second they stopped the shenanigans of trying to take over the Eastern Bloc countries, which they still are, by the way, because they can do the VPN stuff or whatever. They can do it per the country and the boundary and all that. Look at all the rules or all the laws by Europe and all that, trying to shut it all down. They do not want dissension because they are wrong. They know they're wrong, and they do not have an argument. They are just telling you climate change is a problem. We have the solution. You can't make money. We can pay you. You can't take care of your own health. We must clothe you and bathe you and feed. These are your natural rights all of a sudden, per the UN. And we sit there and I hate that I keep going on these tirades, but it's like we used this freedom of speech to overturn other countries, and now we are now censoring ourselves because it hurts our power structure within our own country. I mean, where's the irony in that?
Yeah. Yeah, man. I still wonder about that. I'm like, how did Donald Trump get in? You know what I mean? Because he seemed to be so like hated by this establishment, by this deep state thing, whatever you want to call it.
You mean the second time or the first?
This second time.
Okay, I agree. Okay, I just want to make clear because the first one I think was Karl Rove and like very strategically done, and they underestimated him. That's just like a personal opinion.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. I just want to clarify the because I agree with you.
Yeah, the first time, okay, I think it was an accident. I think they all thought Hillary's got this in the bag. We don't have to do much, right? So, but the second time, they knew. I guess my theory is that they just couldn't do enough to stop it without being too obvious, without giving away the game, right? And that doesn't mean Trump is good at almost anything, but he's definitely not. Well, I don't even want to say definitely. He could be. They could have got to him. They could have just said, yeah, we'll let him in because he will do what we want. We'll trick him into it.
Someone got to him, Jason. Let's not kid ourselves. Like, we're seeing a palpable shift and a clear favoritism, right? Someone's talking to him. And I don't know if they got to him. I don't know if "got's" the right word, but they got him. You know what I mean? He's hooked right now. He might change his mind, but he's hooked right now. Pretty clear, right?
That does seem to be the thing, right? Like even Javier Milei in Argentina, you would think that the powers that be would not want someone who calls himself an anarcho-capitalist to get power anywhere, because that would really fuck things up. But he went to Israel. He kissed the wall. He did the thing. He's Jewish.
He did the thing. Look at Elon. Elon went on that trip. He come back and he's like, whatever the words are to bless whoever. I think Teslas are kosher now, actually.
The picture of Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro sitting around the table with Netanyahu still haunts me.
Right. And once again, I admire the fuck out of Jordan Peterson. Absolutely. Like when you sit and you just listen to the processing, the thought, how things affect things, all of that, it's like 99% on board. And then you go, dude, you lived about tyranny. You knew about Hitler, and you're like, Hitler, and of anyone's Hitler 2.0, if anyone's Hitler 2.0, this will definitely get us off YouTube, but if anybody's Hitler 2.0, we know it's the guy who starts with a B and ends with a B and ends with a Yachoo. You know what I mean? It's like a very old, antiquated email server. Then Yahoo. Yeah. All right, Yahoo. Okay, anyway.
Yahoo.
I still have a Yahoo account. But anyway. But that's the point, right? It's like they definitely got to him. So whether they'll have his ear this whole time, but once again, to Trump's credit, as a person, he's done what he said he would for the people that have given him votes in the Libertarian Party with Russ Ulbricht, for example. And he did. He did. He didn't free him the first time. He didn't know anything about him, nor did he care. But when it mattered, he cared, I guess, and he did it. Once again, I'm just talking about the individual things, right? And then the other thing, he's working on the piece. Look, we're 2 months in, and Ukraine's pretty much over. Not a month.
Which is in itself wild, right? Like, this could have been done at any time. They chose to keep it going.
Done a month in, and he did a month in. Yeah, and it's 3 years later, right? It's unbelievable. And once again, Ukraine's a great example. To your point, look, Lockheed Martin pays the other 25% of that bill, don't they? You know what I mean? So Tucker's upsetting apple carts left and right.
Money aside, like, yeah, my the inflation's up. My bank account, my dollar doesn't go as far as it used to. Yeah, that's true. But freaking Ukrainians, hundreds of thousands are dead because of the evil people in our government and that other government that's somewhere over in the Middle East.
Yeah, and let's do it. Let's talk about it. Dan Bongino. Dan Bongino.
Don't trust that guy.
Are you kidding? Hold on. We're gonna just rewind it really quickly here because it literally just happened this week. Once again, in real time, Dan Bongino, he is on video saying something about, oh, what's the first? Well, what do you love the most or something? And this is on this. He's like, Israel. He just says Israel. Like, out of the fucking of all the things, like when they ask Kamala, what's your biggest conflict? Iran. What? Are you fucking kidding me? Get the fuck out of here. You're in a fucking war with the largest nuclear power, and your biggest problem right now is Iran. You're so fucking stupid to think that we're that fucking stupid. Like you're that dumb, right? So
I didn't even see that.
Now So now we rewind that. And he says that, then he goes on fucking Tim Pool. Epstein was a Mossad. Epstein worked for a Middle East thing. I've got a high-level journalist telling me all this shit. And what? I don't know which Middle East country, of course. Epstein. I don't know which one he would actually be part of. But like Epstein was not a fucking Palestinian fucking agent. I'm pretty sure, guys. I'm pretty sure he wasn't an Iraqi or an Afghani. I'm pretty sure, guys, that Epstein wasn't anyone else in the Middle East except for one nation that's right smack dab in the middle of causing all the ruckus. Ta-da, right?
Yeah.
Like that he can't say that. And that, once again, then you hear Cash talk about Iran being a problem. Like they're all in line with it. So it is a very scary thing. I'm very concerned about that direction.
Oh, I just got a text from BB. He wants us to stop talking about this. He'll pay us.
Who does?
BB.
Oh, nice. Did he?
Yeah.
What do you want us to talk about? Do you want to talk about this?
Yeah, he just said, change the conversation, change the topic. Give us $1,000.
What does he have on you, Jason? What does he have on you?
He's got my number. I don't know how he got it.
Oh, I know. He's been on it forever, my friend. You and the Five Eyes. Yeah.
It's because we're dangerous. We're dangerous.
All right, I'm putting up the next clip. Let's share with these groups. Do we do that danger anti-vaxxers already? I already did that one, right?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, so that's what we talked about with Tucker. A couple of different reasons why maybe he got fired. Probably just telling a little too much truth. A little too much.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, I think it's the best thing that happened for him.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And I can tell you I didn't watch Fox much before. Every once in a while I come across Tucker. I have Tucker. Tucker's easy to watch for me. Because even when I disagree with it, I'm like, compel me to change my mind, buddy. Like I'm still open to him sharing his ideas, right?
Yeah.
So watching that's great. But since I've not even had I can't say I've had Fox on at all. And then like Jesse Waters gets his spot. And I'm like, I know who Jesse Waters is because Jesse Waters from Philadelphia, So when he talks like this, it's like you can hear it coming out of his face. And I'm like, dude, just shut up, Jesse Waters. Just shut up. And go home when he talks home on the phone. That's what he says. That's his accent.
Yeah. So we're not supposed to talk about vaccines. We're not supposed to talk about Israel. We're not supposed to talk about elections being stolen. But of course, it's okay when they do it.
It is okay when they do it, isn't it? Let us begin.
Let's go.
So if we're all in agreement that it is incorrect to say the 2020 election was stolen, what about the 2016 election?
Look, I'm not going to go back into history.
It was a stolen election.
It was stolen.
Stolen. He's an illegitimate president. He's an illegitimate president. Pretending to be president.
Why do you think the president is going to such great lengths to essentially prove that he beat you?
Because he didn't.
1/3 of Clinton supporters say Trump election is not legitimate.
I think he's an illegitimate president that didn't really win.
You are absolutely right.
You can run the best campaign. You can even become the nominee. And you can have the election stolen from you.
The 2016 election was stolen. Got a nicer way to say that?
Say Russia hacked the election.
Russia hacked our election.
Russia hacked our election. A little louder, please.
Russia hacked our election. That was a 9/11 scale event.
This was a kind of cyber 9/11. American
cyber
institutions.
9/11.
Yes.
Russia hacked our election.
Russia, of course, hacked our election here.
Half of Clinton's voters believe the conspiracy theory that Russia hacked Election Day votes.
We know that they were into voting rolls, actual interference with the elections themselves. We know it happened.
Despite no credible evidence, 67% of Democrats believe Russia tampered with vote tallies.
Hacking the U.S.
All
election.
right, I think we
Hacking
can
the
stop
U.S.
it
election.
there.
Russia hacked our election. The Russians hacked our election.
Russia hacked.
You're muted. Oh, you're still going. Muted. Can't hear you, buddy.
I did it, man. I did it again. Look,
it
we
looked
get a
like
week
a really
off.
Interesting comment. Your face was telling me that was.
It was really good. I'm like,
commentary.
wait, you don't want to hear the other 3.5 minutes of Russia hacking the elections? I mean, we're only a minute and a half of that. Minute and a half, guys.
This goes on for 5 minutes.
Right. There's two and a half more times of that amount in there that we're not sharing. We're sparing you that. So just think about that for a second. We're gonna let you guys sit with that.
They start a whole investigation. They spent tens of millions of dollars, 2 years for the Mueller report to come out and say, yeah, we can't find anything. What was there? Nothing.
Can't find anything, man.
No Russia collusion, no hacking. It was all bullshit.
Collusion. Da, 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 da. Oh, by the way, to all my podcast friends, all my buddies, Jason, yourself, Zach, Sean actually would probably be great. There is a LinkedIn ad for a podcaster remote. It's an unpaid, but I think it's like a rock and metal person. They get an interview like rock and metal people. So if you're really into rock and metal, I told my friend Chris, my old co-host Chris Peralta, told him to do it. I'm not sure if he's going to, but he should, because he's really good at that. But if anyone's interested, go ahead and jump on LinkedIn. I can share you the link. Just let me know if you have a question about that.
I'm linked out.
Linked out.
Anyways, what do we got next? Anything else to say about the hypocrisy? The hypocrisy is the worst part.
No, the waiting's the hardest part.
Waiting is the hardest part.
But that's only per Tom Petty. But no, you're right. It is absolute hypocrisy. Hillary has talked about the Steele dossier. Come on, man. Come on. It's just not a thing. Not a thing. If I may I jump in and share one video here that I thought was perfect here to go along with this? Okay. So once again, we just talk about parroting, echoing, being whatever. I'm going to stop this one for a second. Give me 1 second. I'm going to share this guy. But here's one. Once again, what do we hear? Election was stolen. Election was stolen. Election was stolen. Election was stolen. Then this guy wins. Right? Well, this guy wins. And then what do we hear?
This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever.
He is sharp, intensely probing, and detail-oriented and focused.
For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. Billionaires in America.
This is a man who is sharp, who is on top of his game, who knows what's going on.
He's smart. He's on his game. His mental acuity is great.
This is a very sharp president.
And the people that I've talked to say he's as sharp as a tack. He's fine.
They say he's sharp.
There's not a problem.
He was sharp. He was sharper than anyone I've spoken to.
The president is sharp and he is tireless.
He is sharp as ever.
And he's fine. All this right-wing propaganda that his mental acuity is declined is wrong.
His brain is good. He's still great.
He is sharp in meetings. I believe the people who say that behind those words, Joe Biden remains sharp.
In meetings, Joe Biden is sharp.
He's sharp. He's fit.
There is nothing to these challenges, these suggestions that somehow he's not sharp. He's sharp as a tack.
Making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. With dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare,
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump
finally beat
Well,
Medicaid.
yeah, he did beat Medicaid, beat it to death.
Actually,
I just can't.
Oh,
anymore.
you know
I
the thing. It's the thing, you know.
The thing. Okay, once again, we made it a minute and a half, and it's 6.5 minutes, people.
Yeah.
All right, and this is
These
just
things
clips.
go on and on.
Yeah, they just go on and on. I mean, it's nauseating. It's absolutely nauseating.
It reminded me of your PP tape clip that you shared the other day.
Yeah, PP
Do you
tape.
have the PP tape?
tape. You have the PP tape? I had to clip that. You know how long that took me to clip? Because I'm really bad at that. It took me like hours. But when he said it, I'm like, he said it 15 times. I have to clip every time he says PP tape. I just have to. It just shows you how absolutely how they just try to brainwash you into thinking these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this next one is
Dead
about
Can't Dance. Let's look at some of these comments real quick. Dead
Yeah,
Can't Dance
absolutely.
says the two-party system is the worst. You are absolutely right.
Oh,
She
hold on.
is absolutely right about that. The two-party system is a sham. It's designed to put two candidates who the regime finds acceptable to their power. Someone who's not going to shake things up too much, which is why it seems interesting that Trump got in, because it seemed like he was not on board with that. But I'm assuming they've got something on him. They've got him. They've got assurances.
I think that when they saw that Nikki fucking Haley couldn't get a single ounce of traction, like none of it. I mean, the neocons weren't even on board with her. Fucking Mike Pompeo, they said. Like, I got that clip with Scott Horton talking about it, about Nikki Haley, about like being it was right when we were afraid, not we, because I didn't even vote for Trump, but when they were afraid he was going to get kicked off just one of the ballots and that could just be the death blow of all of it, right? And it was like, he's like, Nikki Haley's got no shot. And Nikki Haley showed that. People were done. People were, it absolute, the war, like watching these conflicts rise up for no fucking reason with the access that we have in our hands. How many times have you scrolled through and seen like blown off bodies that you weren't looking for on Twitter? It just happens to be in your feed, right? You have no idea what anti-war news is going to post. I'm not going to lie. Like I see Daniel McAdams and I'm like, dude, I just please don't show me that stuff, you know?
Don't show me any more dead kids. I get it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. There's dead kids. Right. We know there's dead kids. So anyway, I'll let it go on that, but
I do give Republicans some credit for that, at least not falling for Nikki freaking Haley. But Trump is such a personality that I don't think you can't really fake it. You can't manufacture that, I think.
No, and that's the thing is when Nikki Haley was found to not have any shot.
Yeah.
I think Biden had a chance. Do you think the vote would have gone that much differently? I mean, we're talking, we weren't paying attention to Biden after
or Kamala.
Right. We were not paying attention to Biden one bit. Biden disappeared after Kamala became the nominee, right? Imagine the scrutiny that we would have paid all the video of him falling down or shaking hands with ghosts or shitting his pants. Like,
yeah, but I think we get the same outcome.
I think it would have been the same outcome, right? So I really think that his destruction of Nikki showed that like the establishment wasn't going to win this time. Like it just and Trump is a perfect conduit for it. He's the right guy. Is he like the guy? I don't think so, but I think he's the right guy for this moment, right? He knows how to capture the right people's like energy to win. We're talking strategically here. It has nothing to do with whether I agree with him ideologically. I'm talking about to win the presidency, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the two-party system does
game.
Yeah. Dead can't dance. Look at what did Washington talk about, the party system becoming a two-party system. And literally, once again, we talked about this on the last episode. They give us the range, right? So you're the Republican, I'm the Democrat. And you're like, we need to put 50,000 troops in Iran. And I'm like, no, we only need to put 25,000 troops in Iran. It's like, no, you're both kowtowing to the military industrial complex here, right? Because you're putting at least 25,000 troops into Iran. Like that's literally what you're doing, but you're just making it the range so that maybe we can get away with 50. Maybe people will go with 50, but we'll at least try it, right? But the worst that we'll get is 25. I mean, we'll get in the middle. Maybe we sent 35. We compromised, right? That's how they play these games.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, they needed a fall guy, Dead Can Dance says. They needed a fall guy. Biden's that guy. Saying elections are stolen seems to be super convenient for either side. I do think that's true. Yes, I think it's a human thing to just try not to take accountability for sucking. like you put out a shitty candidate. What can you say? And Trump has his flaws, many of them, but like he knows how to play that game, how to win election, how to get people on his side, how to match his base's energy and amplify it. So yes, he's a fall guy. I think Trump might be a fall guy for the regime.
All right, guys, it's time to drag fucking Jake Tapper. That fricktard, that fucking asshole. Did you hear him ever? He defended, he was on that clip somewhere. I know he was. And then he was yelling at Laura Trump about, oh, you're messing up with it because of stutter. I think you're an evil bitch who doesn't think that Biden's got a stutter and you can't, whatever. Right? You remember Jake Tapper? Everyone remember Jake Tapper? 70 people are watching. You remember Jake Tapper? Tap, tap, taparoo. This motherfucker. I'm sorry. He just wrote a new book, Jason. Did you know that Jake Tapper just released a new book?
I did not.
Would you like to know the title of this book that Jake Tapper released while he was fucking defending Biden's fucking demented ass for 4 fucking years? Would you like to know the title? Okay, here it is.
Yeah, I would like to know.
Original Sin. Original Sin. President Biden's decline, its cover-up, and his disastrous choice to run again. Jake Tapper. Whoa.
Jeez. Who could have seen that coming?
Whoa. Well, look at that. That's what he wrote. He just wrote this fucking book. And the other guy who retweeted, he goes, I'm proud to write this book with Jake Tapper. And I'll say his name because he's a prickwad too. Alex Thompson, never heard of him, but whatever. He tweeted, I'm proud to write this book. He's with Axios and stuff. And I'm like, oh, no shit. Of course you're with Axios. So the guy for 4 years literally makes all his money, you know, just like Rachel Maddow makes her 30 million, right? And then boom, all of a sudden he writes a book about his demented, and he's got the behind the scenes about all the lies and the dementia that was going on.
Shocking.
What?
It's shocking.
Who lets these motherfuckers profit on both sides of this? I certainly don't. Like, it's one thing that COVID hasn't had any heads roll, but I'll be good goddamned if I'm gonna fund the next Fauci anything. If he sells a book, you think I'm gonna fucking help that fucking guy? No.
Come on.
So like, I
know
don't
you got
understand
it
how
pre-ordered on Amazon already.
Oh, there it is. Excellent. So good luck, everyone. Original Sin, President Biden's decline, its cover-up, and his disastrous choice to run again. His disaster. Oh, you should have stepped down earlier. You know, whatever. Stuttering prick. Anyway. I'll let you go, sir.
No, Jake Tapper's a good man. No, he's not. He's a dick. Dead Can Dance. They're both playing us at the same time. So when the people get fucked, there's someone to blame. Yeah, absolutely. They want someone to blame. They want that figurehead there. It seems like they always just blame one side for the most part, though. I think Republicans are a fake opposition. Generally.
Once again, to your point, we call it what's called controlled opposition, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are given the range at which they can set their bottom limit for each and every topic. Just like the left is given their range about what level they can set. And that's how the game starts. It's the pieces are kind of leaned or already kind of put in place before the pieces are actually in motion. So it's almost like jumping into a half set up chessboard without knowing that it's half set up, thinking that it starts from zero.
And there's a lot of pieces. There's even pieces that you don't see. There's secret pieces on this chessboard.
Right. And that's why we make that joke. Like, dude, I'm playing 5D chess and you're playing like 1D checkers.
Yeah.
Because like, if you can't see the thing that's driving the thing behind the thing that's the thing, then, you know, we miss it, right?
Yeah. If you really think that people are just arguing about policy, like, oh, we should have a 30% tax rate or a 25% tax rate. That's not the game. That's the 1D checkers that you're playing.
That's how they already got you. So yeah. So once again, welcome everybody. We're talking about the media. this next piece, I know you're going to set up for us. I do want to talk a little bit about it because I do want to talk about Jon Stewart, our good friend Jon Stewart. Now,
Johnny boy.
Jon Stewart is like an enigma wrapped in a mystery, wrapped in a puzzle, but he's really not. I think he's just a lefty who's smart. And when the right was in power and he was in the Daily Show, he could shit on them more because they were the fucking idiots who were getting us into Iraq and all that other shit.
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound fair?
Yeah, absolutely. He's very smart. He definitely would call out the right when they needed it, and he even called out the left sometimes when they needed it. Not all the time, because he's definitely a lefty, right? He's he's a smart guy. Don't agree with him on everything again, but he makes some good points and some very bad ones.
And he did call out the left once again per COVID. And this is the beauty and the frustration that is Jon Stewart. So you
It's
see
a lot
him
like
call out
Jimmy
the COVID.
Dore, actually. Like Jimmy
What's
Dore is
that?
really good on. He's a lot like Dore.
Yeah.
They're different, but like this kind of the same theme. Like they're both lefties. Jimmy Dore's good on a lot of things. Stewart's good on a lot of things. Those are maybe different things that they're good on, but they both kind of have that same thing going on.
Yes, to expound on that. Jon Stewart was awesome with the the VA and with the whole stuff with the burn people in like 9/11 and all that. But kind of not, because they found out that bill was kind of fucked up. Wasn't it?
And I'm not sure if that was all true. Yeah, I remember that. He was they were planning to cut some funding to the 9/11 people.
Yeah. So I don't remember. But once again, Jon Stewart fought some stuff. Now he gets on Colbert, and everyone knows where he talks about the Wuhan lab in China, blah blah blah, and then Colbert does a spit take, and he kind of laughs off. The audience is completely silent. After that, Jon Stewart disappears for a good amount of time. Literally disappears. No one talks about him. Nothing. The next thing, he puts a pin on an Azov Battalion member at Disney World. And then he goes and licks Condoleezza Rice and Hillary Clinton together in an interview. Together. Hillary and Condoleezza Rice. Those two together. Like chumming it up like good friends. And then he sits there and licks her boots. And then he kind of calls out the Pentagon. Remember the waste, fraud, and abuse? Like the one with the lady where she's like, waste, fraud, and abuse. So it is crazy how this stuff happens, right? Anyway, to your point, secret pieces. So
Fire.
Jon Stewart.
I'm proud of that comment, by the way. So thank you for recognizing.
You should be, sir. Everyone, once again, follow this gentleman. Drop the mask on
if you want,
and Twitter at Drop the Mask. So
no pressure.
We've got we're going to talk about this part where it's like the Marr thing where he's like right up against it, to your point, and then he just misses, right? Like he's afraid to say it. He's trying to say it, but he just can't say it. Anything you want to say before I hit play?
No, I don't remember what this is, so I'll be surprised.
This is the thing about Psaki and Stewart. So,
okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
At MSNBC, do they come to you every day and go, here's what we think is important to preserve and fight for, whatever?
No, everybody gets a zillion press releases and pitch calls, but no.
No. I'm talking about the head of it.
Oh, no. You determine, we determine, each of us for our shows, here's what I'm going to cover today, and here's what I'm going to talk about.
How weird.
And here's
You're
what I
always
think
in
is important.
lockstep.
Which there is an
It's weird.
Attack, sharp as attack.
That's weird because I remember they fired 3 Muslim news readers,
Right.
so teleprompter chimps right after October 7th. Isn't that funny? So you guys get to say whatever you want. Well, I've got a million examples how she's wrong about that. Just give me 1 second. Let's hear the rest of what she has.
To clarify, those people were who were those guys? The 3. Mehdi Hassan.
I didn't even hear about this until I watched this clip.
So remember the bald guy who's on Bill Maher all the time, Armash, whatever. He's a captured prick too, but whatever. He gets kicked off. Mehdi Hassan and the other guy get kicked off. All there. Well, they're all 3 Palestinians. Wow, what's happening, right? Who's running the airways? Like once again, we kind of talk about the weird correlations, right? Shall I continue? You have something to say about that part?
No, go ahead.
And look at Jen. Look at those eyes. When you look over to the side, you are lying, ladies and gentlemen. You're trying to think of what you can say. Just to clarify, you're not just recollecting.
Has to say.
Independence-ish of that. And there also is
ish.
You're not waiting to be told what to say about anything. You're going to say what you think. So people can trust that, and that is a good thing.
See, I disagree with that. I think it's not that you're able to be independent. It's that you're then a prisoner purely to the minute by minutes. Purely
You mean
to
in terms of ratings?
the ratings, incentives, and all those other things. If you don't have the ideological component, right?
So this is Jon Stewart making it out to be that that there isn't a thing called manufacturing consent. Like this is a guy who's supposed to be a media critic, and he doesn't understand what manufacturing consent is.
Once again, I love that we are commenting on Jimmy Dore, commenting on another media piece. It's great. Mediaception right here.
We're turtles all the way down, my friend.
Yeah. Where does it end? Somebody's going to clip this and comment on our bullshit commentary.
Wouldn't that be nice? I mean, honestly, if I
No, we're
saw
not important
anyone,
enough.
if I saw anyone but you, me, Sean, or Zach clip this and put it up anywhere, I'd be gushing, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. Yes.
Any thoughts on what he's talking about right here? Oh, it's the ratings. Oh, you're a slave to the ratings. Have you seen their ratings and what they've been pushing? Really?
The ratings are turds. They're in the toilet.
It's so funny. All right, and what I'll do is I'll probably play that.
Can we get right into manufacturing consent or one of the Chomsky things, because this is exactly relevant?
Yes, that's exactly what we're going to do. I'm going to play the manufacturing consent, that like one with the filters, or actually the one with Phil Donahue and Chomsky. Yeah.
News media is there to manufacture consent. The billionaire-owned, funded by Wall Street and a military-industrial complex, is there to give you propaganda to manufacture consent for the establishment's narrative that's not there to give you news or information. And he's I love how he pretends to be the dumbest guy in the world. That's why he didn't have a better acting career, I don't understand. Because he's really good at pretending he's the dumbest guy. I know he knows better. I know he knows better than this. He's going to chalk it up all to you're just a prisoner of ratings, right?
Yeah, it's not ratings. We already talked about that. They tell you what to say. They have people that work in the FBI, that work in the CIA, that regularly check in with them. They only get their sources. They only get those connections to government because they're willing to say what the government wants them to say. Manufacturing consent sounds like something they do to kids with vaccines. Yeah, no, it is. It's exactly that.
Yeah, and okay, that's perfect. Thank you so much, Dead Can't Dance. So there's this thing that we weren't given during the COVID crisis. Few talk about it, but you and I have talked about it before. It ends with consent, but it's informed consent. They did not tell us the entire picture. They did not give us informed consent to take that shit and have it forced on our children, on people who didn't require it or anything. That's that's like the back end of manufacturing, right? It's like we give you just enough information for you to not be able to refute what we're telling you. It's like a reverse manufacturing consent.
Try to speak out against it. If you try to even question the narrative that vaccines are only safe and effective, they're only healthy, they only prevent disease. If you say anything other than that, you're kicked off YouTube. Sorry, buddy. We're kicked off.
All right, here comes Noam Chomsky. Can you share a little bit about the Phil Donahue, and I'll color in as well? I chose this clip because it's got Noam Chomsky, who's the author of Manufacturing Consent, and Phil Donahue. He was a very big contributor and very interesting guy during Iraq. Do you remember a little bit about
where
that,
he's
Jason?
like, "Well, I don't self-censor." Is that the one?
I think this is the one. Yeah, I think, but it's basically about Donahue, how he got the shaft because he spoke out against Iraq, right? And how he got screwed. So The reason I chose Donahue on this just is because Donahue was kind of interesting. He's kind of like who's John Stossel before he left mainstream and kind of does his own thing. Love a lot of his ideas. But it's very similar to that. So I'm going to hit play on this one. Okay, sir?
Yep.
Mainstream media gives essentially the same message because why?
Well, we have to look what the message is. First of all, the message is one of remarkable subordination to power. Now, power in the United States doesn't happen to be in the state. It's not a centralized military bureaucratic state like in the Soviet Union.
Right.
Power in the United States primarily lies in corporations, in the corporate world. There's very narrow concentration of control over resources, over investment decisions, and so on and so forth. And that affects everything. Can't help affecting everything. It affects the government because this means that there's a very close link between governmental power and corporate power. Furthermore, just the ability to make investment decisions and financial decisions places bounds on what any government could do.
Yes.
Furthermore, now let's go to the major media. What are the major media? Well, they're huge corporations. Okay, the New York Times, Washington Post, NBC, they first of all are large corporations, so quite profitable ones, in fact. Secondly, they're parts of even bigger conglomerates like, Westinghouse and GE and so on.
Can we
now,
pause
like
here?
any corporation, they sell a product on a market. This is a market.
So corporations, first of all, Chomsky used to call himself an anarchist. I don't know if he does anymore, but he's really kind of a left-leaning one. And when people on the left, progressives and stuff, talk about corporations, the corporations' influence on the world, they're kind of right. They're not totally wrong. You know what I mean? Like there is a lot of power.
Because it's crony capitalism, guys. This isn't capitalism.
Yes.
The
There is a lot of power there.
Remember, we're talking about the corporations buying the votes to create the regulations to make them. Once again, this is not a separate thing fighting another entity and losing to a greater power.
Yeah, that's where I was going with it. Thanks for stepping on me.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm just kidding. No, for sure. It is. So they get, they have a little success and then they're like, well, we want more success. So they go to the government and say, hey, we got to make these laws. Somebody over here is trying to do something dirty and we can't have that. But really, they're just trying to shut out competition out of the marketplace. So yeah, corporations, even absent government, could do evil things. Sure. But they get the power, they get the ability, mostly from their government connections. And yes, media is a corporation. They get the power through that connection. In turn, they have power that they could use to put checks on the government. But instead, they choose to be sycophants and they share the narrative. They do what they want, right? They do what the government tells them to do.
Yeah. And I apologize for stepping on you, buddy. I'm really sorry.
I'm just giving you shit. I don't care.
I get judged, man. So to your point, like the corporation, like once again, the regulations, whenever you see a Google backing a regulation, just ask yourself, why are they asking to be limited? Why would anyone ask an external power to limit their ability? Because that limited to them, it could be an external factor that would completely keep someone else out. That's why. You can't look at this from a regulations are here to protect your children or here for your safety or your security or children again. Let's not mention children or protection. They're not there for that. If that was the case, we'd have bullet trains, guys. We'd have bullet trains. We have not a single kilometer of bullet train. China has like 50,000 kilometers. But, I'm only going kilometers because somebody said it in a thing I watched earlier today. But anyway, that's the point. It's not the capitalism the problem, not the corporation. When did really Rockefeller get bigger? When it got infested and broken up, it started infesting every industry. The petroleum industry got into pharmaceuticals too, right? Like it was the government that helped crush everything else from fighting all those things because competition does exist. It really does. And it's scalable to a point if it's done right, So
yeah, you can go back like 100 years when radio was really kicking off, getting big. probably more than 100 years ago. I don't know exactly, but the FCC came in. I think I'm getting the agency right, the one that controls the communications. They said, yeah, actually, the government owns the airwaves. You can only get a license to broadcast if you come through us. And so radio was really, really restricted for broadcasting. Same with TV, same with now the internet. That's what they're trying to really clamp down on to some degree of success. Although it's so big, they really can't get it all. So,
right. And one of the great examples is net neutrality, right? That guy with the big fucking Reese's cup, piece of Reese's Pieces cup, that Gupta Sanjay guy that was with Trump the first time, that got rid of net neutrality. Like,
I don't know. I died when it happened.
Okay, so something about the whole net neutrality basically allows the corporations to do this. I'm not sure if it's an interference or non-interference, to be honest now. Maybe I have to look into that again. But basically, the government's interference or allowance or non-allowance of something is directly affecting all of us in a very impactful way, from the information we get to how much bandwidth we even get.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't remember the details of all the net neutrality stuff. All I remember is that they were saying, we're all going to die. This is going to kill us all if we have net neutrality. And it happened and I died. So they were right.
Oh, wasn't it not? Do they not have net neutrality? Isn't it about keeping? It's one of those reverse ones, right? Like negative rights and positive.
Yeah, if they call it neutral, that means it's very not neutral. It's very.
That's true. It definitely is going to kick you in the balls.
Very not neutral. Yes. I hate those
I
filthy
have to admit,
neutrals.
the Dead Gans Dance's face on this is hilarious. whatever the googly eyes is. So anyway, all right, I'm going to go back to Nomi.
Roughly a kind of a state-guided market society. What's the product and what's the market? Well, the market's advertisers. That is other businesses. So they're selling a product to other businesses. Corporations are selling a product to other businesses. What's the product? Well, the product is audiences. Now, for the major media, the ones that kind of set the agenda, they're selling elite audiences, privileged audiences. The New York Times, say, is targeting privileged, elite sectors of the population. That's their audience. And they're trying to sell that audience to other businesses. So we have to begin with, just on the most elementary grounds, we look at a system. Suppose we're Martians. We're looking at this system. We say, okay, here are huge corporations selling privileged audiences to other businesses. Well, what picture of the world do you expect to come out of that? Then we begin to add other factors. If let's say you're the chief diplomatic correspondent of the New York Times, or a pundit on the op-ed page, and you want to really have important, insights into the government. Well, we all know how that's done. You have lunch with the Secretary of State. He tells you the lies that he wants to appear tomorrow. You write them and you say, a high source in Washington. My intrepid reporting has discovered that a high source in Washington said so-and-so. In fact, if you compare the internal declassified record, of, say, people like Dean Acheson's decisions, and you look at, say, James Reston's columns, they're pretty close. And the same will be true about James Baker and Thomas Friedman. And furthermore, this is an open secret. We know that this is the way. It's not a big secret in the journalistic profession that this is. Now, in order to maintain those contacts, you better present the world a certain way, or those contacts are going to be cut off. You'll lose your opportunity to have to appear, to have special insight, to have leaks, to be able to come across with a story, a couple hours before the next person, and so on. Plus, you'll now, in order, there's an interplay here which requires power in order to maintain your own power. That's another factor over and above the just structural and institutional property.
Yeah, key point there with advertising, I think, take government out of it. It's still, there's definitely influence, because what the news is trying to do, what TV tries to do in general, and even what podcasts do, a lot of them, is trying to keep you hooked long enough to watch a commercial, to watch an ad for something, right? Get the content in between commercials so that they can make money and then they can sell you something. And that definitely influences what they say. Absolutely. It's going to.
And thank goodness we suck so badly that we don't have any commercials in our podcast.
Yes, we're still free. Yeah, except for that text I got earlier. But
Yeah, that text. I really want to delve into that. We're gonna look into that from P.B.N. Very odd. Very odd.
All
I
right.
know we got a few minutes, so
Yeah, we got to start wrapping up here.
thank you so much for everyone jumping on with us. We're up to 75 people on the live stream, so thank you so much. We were able to add Rumble today, so hopefully that'll give us a couple more eyes before we play this, before we call it a night. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. We're just bloviating about stuff that we think about, what we hope other people think about, and we just like to share it. So thank you for joining us. Please follow Jason at Drop the Mask. Go to Rumble, Drop the Mask. Do not go on YouTube. We are both going to be demonetized. We're not even going to be monetized to get demonetized. We're already probably kicked off.
Yeah.
But go to Rumble, go to X, and at Drop the Mask. Thank you again.
Hey, shout out to Dead Can't Dance. Thanks for joining in all the comments. The Legacy, right? Zach, everybody go follow him. He's doing tons of shows. I see him going live all the time. I don't know how he has time for it, but he's got great guests. He's got great conversations. I check in as much as I can. But thanks, Zach, for joining us.
Also, the water's still delicious that we won't talk about because we did not get sponsorship yet for that.
Go back to the last episode if you want to hear about the water. He's got the best water.
Aqua filter.
The best water you've ever had. It's amazing. It's so great. So great.
All right. Please share this one before I play this next, because we have to share the love stuff, man.
We're still in manufacturing consent, I believe, with this one.
Yes.
Door's talking about. I don't remember. It's been a week since we looked at this, so.
Totally cool. This is where he talks about just what manufacturing consent is, just a little more descriptive. Basically. And it's kind of what Noam talked about. But once again, Noam, we got to be careful. Noam did a COVID 360. He wanted lockdowns and all stuff. So he didn't exactly practice what he preached if he got held to the fire. Also, he's the one who connected Woody Allen with Epstein, from my understanding. And he's very hush-hush about that. And he's implicated in some other stuff. So once again, don't have heroes.
Yeah, he was awful on the COVID stuff, man. Terrible.
Right. So, take the idea of the manufacturing consent. Do not take Noam Chomsky as a person, as the greatest hero to mankind. He has a great concept and idea that he really exposed, and I really love him for that. But I do not agree with the other stuff that he did. Real simple.
Boo.
Oh, by the way, so this is manufacturing consent. Is a concept that describes how governments, media, and powerful groups create an illusion of public agreement for their policies or agendas, often through the manipulation of information and media. This technique is used to legitimize power structures within contemporary government regimes without overt force or coercion. Edward Herman and Noam Chomsky, in their book Manufacturing Consent, The Political Economy of the Mass Media, argue that the mass communication media in the U.S. are effective ideological institutions that carry out a system-supportive propaganda function by relying on market forces, internalized assumptions, and self-censorship without overt coercion. The title of their book refers to the consent of the governed and derives from the phrase the manufacture of consent used by Walter Lippmann in Public Opinion all the way back in 1922. So this isn't new. Oh, by the way, MSNBC also fired Phil Donahue because he was anti-Iraq war. Remember the Iraq war? He brought on people who were critical of it, and so they fired him. Phil Donahue, at the time they fired him, was their number one show. Their number one show, they fired him.
You want to remember Tucker, right?
Just like Fox News fired Tucker Carlson, who was by far the number one show in all of news. He had more Democrats watching his show than Rachel Maddow. They fired him. Why? Because he said things about the Ukraine war you're not allowed to say. And he told the truth about COVID, and he brought on RFK Jr. once to tell the truth about COVID. In 2003, Donahue was fired from his primetime MSNBC talk show for airing anti-war voices during the run-up to the U.S. invasion of Iraq, when most of the corporate media was cheerleading the Bush administration's drive for war. Oh, really? You're allowed to say whatever you want, Jen? There's nobody telling you what to say? Really? And Jon Stewart doesn't bring up any of this. He didn't bring up the 3 Muslims who got kicked off the air. He doesn't bring this up. He also doesn't bring up Ashley Banfield. Whatever happened to Ashley Banfield? In an exclusive interview, the former MSNBC star reveals the true story of her banishment from the air after she questioned TV coverage of the war in Iraq. So everybody knows what you're allowed to say and what you're. They don't have to send you a memo in the morning. They know. Here's one more. Jesse Ventura, MSNBC tried to shut me up. They wouldn't put me on the air because of my opposition to the Iraq war. They gave him a 3-year contract, and before his show ever aired, they canceled it, and they paid him for the 3 years. So
wow, none of the other crazy things he said over the years, the opposition to the Iraq war.
Yeah, that's it. That was his. And by the way, isn't it interesting that I know this, a C student, nightclub comedian, but Jon Stewart doesn't know any of this?
He knows. He freaking knows.
He knows. That was our last major clip, but he really.
I might have
know.
one more. I have one more.
Oh, awesome.
The malice
one. And I do. So before we do call this, we just kind of delved into how this really ultimately happens. Those corporations have a pretty good stronghold. I urge everyone to watch the movie Network in 1976. I think I still have that clip about Ned Beatty having the guy had his lecture, but it's like so long. I don't want to bore us. I don't want to mess us up with whatever copyright stuff. But watch Network. It is exactly what we're seeing here and how they limit us or limit the people who gain power with their voices.
Yeah. And I think Chomsky puts too much on the market forces, but yeah, it's a part of it for sure. But it's not just that it's only advertising that makes it bad. No, it's bad people doing bad things. It's really what it is. One last thing I wanted to share, the malice clip, if you want to start pulling that up.
Oh yeah.
There's the idea that, yes, the government is out there telling the media what to say. I think that's mostly true, but there's another side of it too. Like the media has power to influence as well. And if you dig down, maybe it's like the CIA or the deep state behind it, telling the media what to do. And then politicians have to follow along because if they say something that the masses don't believe because of their programming, because of what they see on the news, they're out, right? They still have to rely on somewhat legitimate elections. I won't say they're fully legitimate, but they still have to rely on public opinion. So if you want to pull this up, this will be the actual last clip.
Yep, I've got this one pulled up. Let me get it on the screen.
Who's really in charge of who? That's the question.
And look at that picture next to him, man. You gotta love the troll.
He's something.
That's exactly what he is. He's something. That's exactly what it is. All right. Everyone, thank you again. We're up to 82 listeners. Thank you so much for everyone who joined us. It's been another Consciously Unmasked with Jason from Drop the Mask and myself from Knocked Conscious. It's a great collaboration. We've been doing this for a little bit. I've been having a great time. Thank you again for doing this with me, Jason. Thank you for everyone who's joining us. We definitely are seeing new faces on the comments. So thank you for joining us. And we got a lot of people that are joining us. So this is our last clip. If you just joining us, this was 2 hours long. It's on Rumble. It'll be on YouTube as well right now until they pull it because they're fucktards. But anyway, everybody else, thank you so much for joining us. It is time to play some Michael Malice.
Dude, that's such a good concept to keep in mind. That
this is what conservatives get wrong. Conservatives think that the enemy are the Labor Party or the Democrats here, and we're going to kick Joe Biden out of office, or we're going to beat Jeremy Corbyn, blah, blah. That's not the issue. When you have Jeremy Corbyn is the tail, Joe Biden is the tail. The corporate press are the dog who are wagging that tail.
Fuck, man. I'm not going to be able to get that out of my head.
But you cannot see it. Another example I used a couple of years ago was, let's suppose I'm a Democratic politician and I think Trump is dividing America. I think he's completely either a racist or he's fuming the fuels of racism to further his agenda. And I think he's an ass, and I think he's uneducated, and I think he's boorish. I think he has no business being in the White House. But I don't think he should be impeached or removed from office from a dopey phone call where he was fishing for something. That impeachment has no one's been removed from office before. Does not reach that level. I can't, as a Democrat, go in front of my constituents who heard 4 years of Russia, and Trump collusion and keep my seat. I did not have that freedom. So it's very clear who's in charge of whom.
I got my old school logo and music on there, but
like that.
Anyways, yeah. What do you think, man? There's something to it. I think there's not a clear somebody at the top.
Right.
That's what I think.
And this is where we can go tinfoil time, but it's true. Coming out of World War II, this thing started brewing that the United States must continue in case another global war got to our shores or whatever, got literally physically global, right? Like that started this quote unquote deep state. There's this amazing documentary series called While the Rest of Us Die. I know it's hyperbolic, guys. Don't get caught up in the music and the emotion. Just take a step back and listen to what exists. There's a group of people that all they need is two of us to exist to propagate the world again, as long as all of them are destroyed. Ultimately, that is like the ultimate goal, is that there's a continuation of state, regardless of what happens to any of the civilians, any of the people within, under the control, under the guidance, protection of the state. There is a deeper entity. Now, we can argue all day that that's needed or not needed. We can argue that we need a Section 31 dark net thing to keep all the darkness away, right? Well, you and I don't agree that one bit. We think like, hey, let them fucking just, it won't work. It won't work.
Mm-hmm.
It won't be given oxygen if we just let it die and wither on the line. No, we have to actually cultivate it, right? And then make it dangerous and then fight it somehow. So like, that's where I see that. As for like, it's frustrating because like we get pulled into so many different things that it is a wag the dog thing. They just tell us how to think and what we should think, and we're not told enough. We're just not told enough, and I wish we'd have more information. But
we don't know. But what is clear, I think, is that they're perfectly happy. Whoever's in charge, they're perfectly happy for us to have alternative media, Fox versus NBC or whatever, because they want us fighting each other. They want us on different teams that are not one team against them, because that's how they keep their power. They keep us distracted with these things like transgender bathrooms or whatever bullshit while they start wars and kill people. It's really crazy. Once you start to see through it, you see it everywhere. So just pay attention to that. That's my lesson for the day, I guess. They do this to get us fighting each other and then supporting whatever candidate that they put up at the top.
Yeah. And the money does play. I mean, Adelson's money. Look, without Adelson's money or somebody's money, Trump doesn't win too. He's just not going to win without the money. You need the money to do it. And yeah, Kamala spent whatever 1.5 billion or whatever. It just wasn't enough, because that just wasn't, the story just was too awful. But yeah, we're beholden to those people. They pull the strings. You know what I mean?
They'll go back and forth, Democrat, Republican, back and forth forever. And it seems insane if you think of it in terms of policy. Like if you think that, oh, that didn't work, let's try the other one. Oh, that didn't work, let's try the other one. And you just keep going back and forth. That's like the definition of insanity. But that's not what's happening. They're doing this so that you have an illusion that there's a choice. And there's really not.
Harlan talks about it too, a choice. Just remember, and this is why we the message from us is not to believe what we believe. It's just to deprogram what you've been manufactured to believe your entire life. Now, you and I would like it to be minimalized, because our view is for the ability for the government to do something for you, it has to be able to do something to you. And I don't like the to you part, because when it's not aligned with my values, then it's literally to me. And to your point, it's half the time. It's half the time, because it goes left, right, left, right, left, right. That's how it goes. So I'd rather just reduce the power so that neither is affected by any of the decisions. Like Malice talked about it being like, almost like going to the clergy, like, oh, look, like a second opinion. That's almost how that should be treated in a way.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I got to run. I am for I am. Thanks for the comments. Internet's definitely played a role in dividing us. Absolutely. It's a double-edged sword. It helps us get information, but it also helps them get their propaganda out to us. So, yes, great comment. But yeah, I got to run. Thanks, everybody.
Take care, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Jump off, Jason. I'll
have a good night. See you later.
See you later, man. Drop the mask
Bye.
pod. Everybody log on. Follow. Everybody go. We're going bye-byes.
Follow Mark.
Take care, everybody.